because we actually split it up in 3 groups of 4, and these 4 people were creating 2 pieces of art, one current system and one future. So maybe you two start. You have the title is Environment.
Yeah. The title is we're looking at the environmental impact of agricultural production. Before we came to the current situation, we assumed the current situation. We assumed that we had very green areas, we had good forest stands. Maybe let's take it before the agricultural revolution times, and then we got to move. We had to move from here. You see, it's very green, but now we are moving towards a little bit red, showing danger. So we have to come here, especially maybe talk of developing countries. We have to use maybe, let me say, crude methods of agricultural practices, gathering of grasses and then burning them. And of course, when we burn, we emit greenhouse gases. And of course, we move here to realize that children are cutting down trees. You see, he's trying to cut down the tree. The child labor issue is not our part. We want to look at the environmental impact. So they cut down trees. And then we also realize from here, it's not very clear, but you see a very big machine plowing the land, of course, because of mechanization of agriculture. And of course, this is associated with the usage of pesticide. And of course, maybe using pesticide and then the clearing of trees, we end up, of course, losing a lot of biodiversity, maybe killing a lot of species. And of course, this is what we assume to be GMOs. So because of mechanization and then maybe industrialization of agriculture, we use more of GMOs. And of course, when we also use machines here, we emit a lot of gases into the atmosphere. So you see, this is the gases in the atmosphere. And we realize very well that we have something like this is a world map. So we assume that this is a little bit green. That is the current situation, a little bit green, but we have patches of red, indicating that there are certain levels of dangers. Of course, look at biodiversity loss, look at forest degradation. This is represented by the red. And then we now assume, if you continue practicing this, what will be the future for us?
Yeah, in future, that is depicted that maybe in future, a lot of red with little bit green. In future, it will happen. And the main theme is the cost of food behind the price tag. So behind the price tag, we are paying all this in the cost of that food, which we are not considering that will be happening in the future. The question mark may be something different. No one knows exactly. Yeah.
Okay, our topic was the market. This is the present, and this is the wishes for the future. We called our picture transparency, and here we have the customer side and the producer side.
Yeah, and then the second begins with the producers as point of view, and here all the things that are produced and then goes then to the production process, and then goes to the transportation and also the stock, and then comes to the market where the market then decides about the selling price, and then come then to the consumers where they have then so many choices, and then they can decide which food or which product that they can buy. And what else? And maybe then this question mark then symbolizes that there is a war then between the producers and the consumers, that there is a lack of transparency then in the market then.
Well, in the future, we predict that this wall will come down because of consumer awareness. Like you see, this one of the consumers here looking into the shelf, they can actually look through the window and see, somehow conceptualize what goes into producing everything, and we can come to a sort of consensus, and transparency can be a very good tool to enable farmers really fetch what they actually tend for in the world market. Yeah, that was our idea.
Should I start? Okay. Our theme was social injustice, right? And we called our pictures Out of Balance. And this is why you see in the center of both pictures, this is the current and this is the future perspective. You see a balance in the middle. And on this balance, you see on one hand a lot of small people who are not very fat but are pretty slim, because those are the starving people, and their number is much bigger than the number of these two fat guys sitting here on the other side of the balance. And in the middle you see a big tree which is full of products of food and things we need to live. And due to their heavy weight, these two fat guys hang down to the ground, so they get close to the tree, whereas the people in the developing countries, the masses of people who are poor, they are lifted up away from the tree, so they can't reach it, and they have no access to resources, and only those fat guys can reach the tree and get even more and more of the stuff they like to consume. And and this is so the future perspective, which maybe has a bit darker atmosphere, and you see that there is a lot of aggression, and maybe you see that it's full of fire and blood, and it's nasty atmosphere. And the balance in future is inclined even more, because the fat guys are at least as fat as they are there, and the poor guys, they are lifted up even higher away from the tree with the resources, and they have no chance anymore to get anything at all, and that's why many of them are starting to fall out of the balance completely. They are falling out of the picture. They are trying to somehow get over to the fat guys where the resources are, and so there's a lot of confusion, maybe even war and aggression and violence. And one detail I'd like to point out is that even the balance itself is in a very dangerous situation, because the string which is holding up the balance is starting to break, and that's why we imagine the situation in the next decades might be very dangerous and very difficult. Yeah.